Back on the show is Canadian sensation TJ Laramie, who's got a fight coming up here against Maxime Dubois at TKO 37 Rivals on January 13th. TJ, how's it going? And appreciate you joining me here at a cafe this morning.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Training's been well. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. I appreciate you asking. And man, you and I actually got to finally meet earlier this month at UFC 206. I was looking for the media room, and I just happened to run into you while I was upstairs. How was UFC 206 attending the event as a fan and you know, watching these fighters compete?
Honestly, it turned out to be one of the best events I've seen all year, with the quality of fights that were put on, with crazy knockout finish like from Donald Cerrone, or probably the fight of the year in my opinion with Cub Swanson and Doo Ho Choi. It was just it was an amazing card, it really was, and I was glad I got to see it in person, because honestly my expectations weren't too high going into the event because of honestly the card was almost a fight night card, because it was like a make-believe title fight almost at the end there.
Yeah, no, it was. And it's funny because you and I were messaging back and forth. And I remember initially you weren't planning on going, and then you ended up getting tickets. Was that the first UFC event you've ever been to, or have you been to other ones before?
No, that was my very first event that I've ever been to.
Okay. What was it like? The one thing I as a fan, I haven't been as a fan for years, but when I have gone, the one thing I kind of notice is that it's more about the atmosphere than it is necessarily, you know, you actually watching the action. Because a lot of times when like a position like occurs on the ground or something, you're looking up at the monitor. Did you find that as well? It's more about kind of the experience as opposed to watching the fights?
Yeah, it is the atmosphere, definitely. Like just seeing all the people yelling and screaming, and like the way the crowd gets into it. And surprisingly, the crowd was actually sold out at UFC 206, which is I wasn't really expecting.
Yeah, no, for sure. Seeing that card, though, does that really get you pumped up for not only competing in your fight, but also, you know, to get in the UFC yourself?
Yeah, like I was getting chills watching these guys walk out, and just thinking like, oh man, this could be me in a year and a half. You know what I mean? Like, it was just super, super motivating, and it was excited to be there. It got me really going, like got my adrenaline going. I wasn't even fighting.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about your last fight. Coming off the first round finish over Damon Paltier, you were supposed to fight Maxime Dubois. You had to switch up an opponent. Could that performance have gone any better, man? You look great in getting the first round finish.
Yeah, just had a little hesitation at the beginning of that fight. So, and just for the record, it was a slip. It was not a knockdown for
right.
whoever.
Yeah, I know.
Whoever wanted to say it was a knockdown, but yeah, it was just a little hesitation because he was pretty tall. He was a lot tall. Definitely taller than what they said he was going to be, 5'11", but he was more like 6'2", 6'3". He was huge. And but yeah, I got on top, controlled the fight, and it was pretty easy for me from there. It was one of my better performances, I feel, and I felt like I put like a stamp on everything else that's happened in the past. You know what I mean? The past 8 months haven't been really too good. Split decision loss, controversial split decision loss, and then missing weight. And then no one talked about that after that finish, which is what I was hoping for.
Yeah, and what was the reception like after that fight? Because this was on UFC Fight Pass, so everyone like worldwide was able to see this card. Did you get a lot of messages and stuff? Did you find it was more than, say, some of your other fights?
Oh, definitely. Like UFC Fight Pass itself tweeted a highlight of my fight.
Yeah, I saw
and
that.
And it got over 350 favorites or something like that. So it definitely got a lot of exposure, and yeah, it was great to be put on such a big platform.
How did you feel competing at featherweight in this fight?
Oh, I felt good. Weight cut went awesome. Like I didn't even have to cut weight day of the weigh-ins, and usually I'm cutting weight day of the weigh-ins. And the thing I like about Montreal too is they do their weigh-ins early, so they do their weigh-ins at 12 p.m. rather than doing them at 5 or 4 p.m., which is what it was before in pretty much all my other fights. So fighting at 145 was definitely a lot more comfortable for me.
How'd you celebrate after that fight? Montreal's a pretty good city to, have a nice after party.
I actually ended up just going home right away the next day. I didn't really stick around to celebrate because I wanted to celebrate with my family and friends back in Windsor.
Right. Oh, that makes sense. Did you get any cheat meals? I talked to Jesse Ronson. He said he got a pizza right after the fight, and apparently they didn't cut it for him. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't hear about that. They don't cut pizza in Montreal or something?
Well, apparently he thinks it's because he speaks English, and it was like a French pizza place, so they were like mad that he didn't speak French, so they just like purposely gave him a pizza that wasn't cut.
I could definitely see that happening. Honestly, I was at a grocery store. And I'm like, "Where's the fruit?" And they're like, "Sorry, we can't help you." What
Really?
are you talking? Like, what are you talking about? You don't know where the fruit's at?
Yeah, no, it's true, man. The discrimination is real. I don't know what it is. Like, there's a lot of kind of, I don't want to get too controversial here, but I do find that there is some of that where if you don't speak French in Montreal, they kind of look down on you. So, not good news for us English-speaking folk. But let's talk about this fight coming up here, Maxime Dubois. I know you had called out Kyle Nelson, actually. Kyle Nelson, a top featherweight fighter. You're fighting Maxime Dubois. Was Nelson sort of the first choice, and I guess this was sort of the second choice?
Well, Dubois was just what TKO had in mind for me, seeing as the fight didn't go through the first time. And Kyle Nelson, Maxime Dubois, whoever it may be, I'm just here to win and here to take fights, you know what I mean? I'm not here to play around. I'm here to be the best, whether it's at 145 or eventually whether I go down to 135. Whatever happens, you know, but I'm here to be the best regardless of the weight, and that's what I train to be, and, you know, this preparation for Maxime Dubois couldn't have been better, seeing as, first of all, I was training for him before for however many weeks it was, like 6.5 weeks until I found out Pelche was out. He was out, Dubois was out, and then Pelche stepped in, and then, you know, I've been training with Kyle Prepelic, who's top southpaw in the country. Between him and Jesse Ronson, there isn't a better southpaw in the country at those weights, you know. They're about Kyle's about the same height as Dubois. It's honestly the absolute picture perfect training partner. I couldn't ask for a better training partner. He outclasses Dubois in every way, and you know what? Being able to train with him and being able to compete with him and see how gauge my levels with him, you know, it gives me unlimited amount of confidence going into this fight. You know, I haven't felt better going into a fight or more confident. Especially getting that one win too against Pelche there after 8 months of not fighting. You know, that I needed that for a fight like this because I really feel like I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna surprise a lot of people with the performance I'm gonna put on for this fight.
Yeah, and you mentioned Kyle Prepelic there. He's got a fight coming up in the States as well. I believe, is it the same weekend, or at least it's close to the same time you're fighting, correct?
It's the exact same day, actually.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah. Okay, how does that work in terms of like cornermen and stuff? Like, who's going to corner you for this fight, and who's going to corner Kyle?
Well, Reno is going to corner me, probably come up with me and my brother. And then we have other coaches and other fighters that are probably going to go with Kyle. And we have another fighter, Josh Taverne, who's going to be fighting as well with Kyle Prepelic in the States.
Excellent. You mentioned your brother there. He's going to be making his pro debut. Does that kind of add a bit to this card, you know, knowing that you got two brothers competing on the same card? That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's cool, but you know, like what he does doesn't really affect me. You know what I mean? Like I'm whatever I'm doing. You know,
you're carving your own path. Yeah.
Fight. And basically the card's massive. It's almost 20 bouts on this card right now, and so he fights not even near me, like 4 or 5 hours difference. So I'm not, like I probably won't be even like at the venue when he fights. You know.
Right, yeah, that makes sense. Now, is it tough at all? I know you don't cut much weight, but is it tough at all having this fight in the middle of the holiday season? Because we got Christmas coming up. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of holiday, family parties, things like that. It's going to have a lot of bad food. Is that kind of difficult trying to, stay away from all that stuff?
Not really, and like I can't, like I don't really eat anything too bad, anyways. But like I can get away with like fighting at 145. You can get away with a little bit of like messing around, but
usually gravy.
Yeah. If I do anything though, like it won't be anything crazy. Like I'm not gonna dedicate a whole meal to eating unhealthier mashed potatoes and roast beef or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like I'm still gonna keep it pretty clean for the most part.
Do you ever see yourself going back down to bantamweight? Like after this fight, I know this was a fight that was announced before, so you get this one out of the way. Is the plan to stay at featherweight, or do you see yourself going down to bantamweight?
The plan for the almost the remainder of the year is probably to stay at 145, but eventually I'd like to make it to 135. But I need a lot of preparation for that because it would take like 10 weeks, man. Like I'm telling you, it'd take a long time to get down to 135, and 145 is pretty easy, but it's crazy the amount, like just the 10 pounds is a huge difference because like even when I was training I was fighting at 140 a few times for catch weight just to try to make 135, and like my energy levels were down the drain. Like when showing up to the gym, it was like I was sparring with people that I would normally be like having no problem with, but like I would just feel weak, you know. Like if I were to grab onto something, I would just feel like that strength wasn't there, and it was just wasn't a fun time always cutting down to there. And I was fighting often too at the weight, so I always had to stay dieting. And then as soon as I had some time off, it's like I got way too heavy, and that's how the missed weight happened and everything. It was a pretty crazy time. But yeah, I'd like to go down to 135 eventually if it's possible for me. And but I think after this fight, TKO has the winner of this fight scheduled to face Alex Morgan in April.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. So it'll be a 145 bout in April as well. So it's going to be me anyways, but so I'll be fighting Alex Morgan in April.
Yeah, I like that.
So,
yeah, I was going to say, if you ever did think of going to 35, is there any thoughts of, maybe getting like a nutritionist or something like that? Because there's people who I guess specialize in, kind of dropping weight and things like that.
Yeah, for sure, but at the end of the day, if you listen to what these nutritionists say, no one's saying anything different than what the other guy's saying.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no special key. Like, this guy's method of eating vegetables isn't different than this guy's method of eating vegetables. It's all the same, This, whatever, nutrition or whatever,
yeah.
Exact same thing as Mike Dolce. All their fighters miss weight anyways. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no key. There's no special formula. It's pretty basic how to do these things.
How many times do you want to fight in 2017? You mentioned, if you get the win here, you'll fight Morgan. Are you kind of looking at 3 times next year? How many times are you looking to fight?
Well, I pretty much plan to fight for every TKO event. So I believe there's one in. So I got January, April, I think July, and then November.
Oh, cool.
So
okay.
4 more times, and then that'll close out my contract with TKO.
Yeah, and then see sort of what happens after that. January 13th, what is your prediction for this fight? How do you see this one ending?
I definitely feel like, I know I'm going to break Maxime Dubois, and coming off a 2-year layoff, he won't be able to hang with someone like me who's been as active as me. Within the last 2 years, I fought 5 times, and I've had 5 victories if you ask anybody else. And, I don't feel like the quality of people that Dubois has fought, or the people he's beat at least, have even been close to my level. And, it's going to be a long night for him coming off a 2-year layoff. He should just stay retired, if you ask me.
Last question for you here. What is your favorite Christmas movie? We got Christmas coming up on Sunday.
Honestly, I don't really have one particular one, but
I was going to say the right answer is Die Hard. So
my when I was little, I watched the Rudolph one that is like animated, but they used like the Play-Doh kind of thing.
Okay.
It's weird. I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, it's my favorite.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I can't remember the name of it though, but I think I also caught that one as a kid too. So it's a classic. But man, speaking of classics, we are looking forward to this fight. It should be a real good one. TKO 37 live on UFC Fight Pass on January 13th. TJ, can't thank you enough for joining me, especially during the busy holiday season. Where can people get a hold of you on social media? And if you got any thank yous or shout outs, the floor is yours, man.
Yeah, for sure. You can find all my social media links on my website, tjlaramie.com. And I'd like to thank my sponsors, IBEW, Liuna, Street Soldier, Takedown Distribution, and Wing Creek Concrete, and Far Better Plumbing. So I'd like to thank all my sponsors for that, and of course James Lynch.
Oh well, no, I appreciate that. That's actually wasn't what I wasn't going to say there, but I do appreciate it. Your shirts, are people still buying those? Are they still available?
Oh yeah. So I'm selling Team Laramie shirts, and for whoever's still interested, I could ship them too if you'd like. I just have to see where I'm shipping them to, because if I'm gonna ship them, I'm gonna try to send them all out in one day, instead of me having to go back and forth to the post office all the time. And I want to see how much each package is going to cost, because I haven't even really looked into it yet.